What is going on, people? Good to have you on board. Another episode of Unfiltered coming your way right here and right now. It is episode number 321. Your scorecards, you can get on board 24/7, 365. It is easy. Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. And you can go to Twitter or X, if you will, at Casey Stern, and find all the information. And you can get all of the videos, all the access, all the interviews, all the content. Like, follow, subscribe, do it now over on YouTube. All you got to do is search Unfiltered with Casey Stern, find the channel and all sorts of goodies there. It is goody to have you on board here. Get into some baseball today. Talk about the Mets and the latest as I do this here, coming off the loss in the opener of this four-game set. The division is over now that the NL East is done. Talk a little NL landscape, get into a number of things with the Mets as well here on the program. Any thoughts you have, questions, comments, whatever it might be, reactions, want to hear from you on the YouTube side if you're watching or listening there, and also want to get you on Twitter, X, if you will, across the board. I'll start here. You know, as Denny Green once said, the Mets are who we thought they were. Maybe not who you thought they were in April. Maybe not who you thought they were coming into the season. But they are who we know that they are based on what we've seen all year. And I say that, and I say this clearly. It is very possible, no matter what negativity I'm about to bring you, and there is some, that they may win the next 3 games in this series. It's also very possible they would then turn around and get swept by the Rangers. I'm not here to tell you the Mets are a bad baseball team. I'm here to tell you the Mets are an inconsistent baseball team. I'm here to tell you the Mets are what they are. Does it mean they're capable or not capable of making a postseason run? Honestly, a little bit of both. We've seen both. Now, we know the starting pitching hasn't been sustainable. And all credit to McLean, who didn't have his best stuff clearly in game 1 of this series, but hung in there and was able to get through, 5 1/3 and give up a run. We know it's not sustainable for them to be so inconsistent on the starting pitching side, but do we also know on the other side? Yeah, it's possible that those guys could have a run or two of a couple of weeks where they pitch well. We've seen Peterson do it a lot during the year. We've seen Manaea do it in the past. We know Clay Holmes can keep you in a game. The offense has been there, right? Even Ryan Helsley looked good yesterday. So it's possible. Just look at Ryan Stanek. Drives you nuts, give you a heart attack. Tough to watch the guy. Then the next week, he kind of sucks you back and you're like, maybe you can use him in a big spot, even though, by the way, I would not. Just say it. But they kind of are who we think they are. But the inconsistency is too much to believe they're making a run through October. No, I do not believe the Mets are going to the World Series this year. That'd be fair. I didn't believe they were going there last year. After the first game against the Brewers, in the middle of that series, and in the ninth inning of the last game with Devin Williams coming in, I didn't think so either. Facing Wheeler possibly in a game 5 if they lost game 4, I didn't think so either. That they were going to get to the LCS and make that kind of a run. So no, right now I don't believe the Mets are making that kind of a run this season. I just don't. Not buying. However, is it possible? It's possible. And that's kind of where you stand with the Mets right now. The inconsistency drives you nuts. The lack of fight seemingly drives you nuts. Now, I want to be fair, because sometimes, don't take this the wrong way, and I am a fan, but the fans who are fans who have not really covered the game, been around the game, they still make this very valuable mistake of always with teams talking about they don't care. Doesn't mean anything to them when a pitcher is, having the kind of performance Nola had yesterday. Should they have hit him? Sure. You want to break down a couple of at-bats you wanted to see differently? Fine. But did you see him spot the fastball the way he was? See the curveball in big spots? He hasn't had that kind of effectiveness and efficiency with his pitching really all year. So hats off and give him credit. I know people don't want to hear that, but when pitching dominates you, it looks like you don't care. There are probably people right now thinking 88, they just stopped caring in that series. No, Oral Hershiser are that good, right? Everybody who ever faced Pedro Martinez in a big spot, they don't care. I don't think it's that. But there is a lack of fight with this team you can get on, and it's the fact that not one time the entire year, not one time the entire year have they come back in the ninth inning to win a game. Not once. I mean, literally, you can look and fall backwards and slip into 5. They got 0. There is a lack of that it factor in that fight that we saw last year in big spots. It's not there this year with this team. It's just not. It's not. And that is a problem. That is a real thing. Them getting shut out 1-0, by Nola over 6-7 innings. And, you telling me on Twitter they don't care is dumb. You want to tell me they don't have enough fight in big spots this year and base it on what you've seen in part in a number of things, but you want to say primarily their lack of ability to come back in a game? Well, you got me there. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're missing some of that fire. And I think, we saw the way Winker was on the bench last year and with the team and the energy he brought, they're kind of missing a little bit of that. You watch Harrison Bader and the energy he brings to the Phillies, and you're like, oh, okay. Then you watch Cedric Mullins, who, by the way, can we stop looking at the plate? Enough with Cedric Mullins. 0 for 25. Look, we know he's a better player than this. If you don't, you're an idiot. He's a better player than this. But at some point, you got, some teams don't have any options. You got tons of options. You could, look, I understand what Tyrone Taylor couldn't hit. Better defender than Mullins. And really can't hit any worse. But this team clearly is a team right now that should have McNeil in center field, who's played well enough to be there defensively. Beatty at second base, definitely played well enough to be there defensively. And Vientos or Mauricio at third, with Vientos DHing. Vientos at third, Marte DHing. And by the way, I don't like the way they handle Marte either. You know why? Have you seen we're about to get to the quality or lack thereof of the at-bat at the end of this game yesterday from Francisco Alvarez. Have you seen the quality of the ABs or lack thereof of Starling Marte when he comes off the bench? He's horrific. But when he was playing every day and he was in the lineup, look how well he was hitting. Yeah, we know Soto and what he's done, and I'm not discounting that. And we know Pete, right? And we know McNeil's been hitting, and we know what Nimmo's been doing. Did anybody notice that when those guys weren't hitting, the only one who was when he was in the lineup was Marte? But you got to get the guy some at-bats. He's in his late 30s, not his late 70s. I mean, it's some real talk about this baseball team. Let's get to Francisco Alvarez and let's stay with the real talk. Because, I was tweeting this last night, but you're about to not like me. And let me tell you, I have no problem being wrong. I hope everything I'm about to say is wrong. I hope everything I'm about to tell you is wrong. But I don't get it. And I don't mean yesterday based on the worst at-bat of the season by not only any Met, maybe anyone in the league in a big spot. He went up there like he had to go number 2, just had, some tacos or something, or, went, I don't know where, just took like 7 X-Lax and had to go to the bathroom and had to run back to the dugout. So let's just swing at anything. Those balls weren't even close. This is not about that at-bat alone. This is, I have never gotten it. If you watch him at this level, tell me why he's that good. He has power when he connects on a pitch. Yes. His plate approach is terrible. Now, I understand, granted, he was more patient when he came back after they had to send him down because he couldn't play well. And that's okay when you're 22, 23 years old, by the way. And I'm not saying this doesn't happen in 6 years. Maybe it does. You going to wait that long? His plate approach has always been bad outside of Sands 2 weeks. Oh, well, now he's patient. I mean, the amount of you, and I know you're going to get mad at me, but the amount of you, and I love you with love. And I love the people who, Mets Twitter, and a lot of them, and I know many of you. But the amount of you showing me highlights of every home run he hit in AAA, I don't give a crap. Enough. in big spots. Knew he was that. He was in the game with my son. Let him stay up to finish the game. This is gonna be it on 3 bitches. I said to him, this could be it. I knew that Alvarez wouldn't come through, but it's not because of that one at bat. And look, all the credit in the world to what he's battling with the hand injuries and the finger injury and all of that. I'm not saying he is soft. I'm not saying he doesn't care. I'm not saying he does have that energy and that fight a lot of times in his game. But, while he's an improving player in some ways, this second coming nonsense has to stop. And I hate to tell you, they're a better team with Terens in the lineup. And most of it because of the presence he has behind the plate. And then some of it because even though he's not a great hitter, he's had better at-bats in big spots than Alvarez does. Alvarez trying to hit a home run every time he goes up there all the freaking time. And part of what's happened is, unfortunately, all those home runs you keep showing me in AAA have gotten in his head. And all this talk about him being a 40 home run hitter, was he a 5? Get out of here. 7, maybe I think he has. I'm sorry. I'm just not with you. I'm not buying. I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy you think he is. At me. I'm not saying don't. I want to hear it. Tell me. Yell at me. It's fine. We'll see what happens the rest of this series. Chances are still there, but this team is what we think they are. They're a team that can't battle and come back. They're a team that relies too heavily on the top 4 guys in the lineup. It's been great, obviously seeing Vientos, come back of age and all the rejuvenation. I talked about that in a previous episode. Go back and listen and watch it from a couple of weeks ago. And all that's great. I'm not poo-pooing at the growth of Beatty. There's a lot there. But they just can't seem to put it all together. Days they can pitch, they can't hit, so on and so forth. And it's great you swept Philadelphia and we all danced in the streets a couple of weeks ago. What the hell's happened since then? Look at the games in Cincinnati. And yes, Singer's a good pitcher. Hunter Green's got great stuff. Nola, we know, is capable despite the year he's had, but it's not enough. The best news the Mets have is the National League landscape right now is wide open. Wide open. I mean, literally, you can go ahead and tell me a name, and I can't tell you no. I know they've had a little topsy-turvy lately. I still think the Padres are very dangerous. They would be my pick. I think they're very dangerous. Players on that team who have kind of gone through it over the last couple of postseasons, been in there. I'm buying the bullpen late in games. It's huge in October. And we've seen them beat the Dodgers head-to-head. They could do it. The Dodgers, they could still do it. Yeah, what they did against Baltimore was an abomination a few days ago. But then look at the way Glasnow just pitched. Look at the way Yamamoto pitched in that game that they blew. Almost threw a no-hitter. You pitch like that in the postseason with the kind of bats they have, they're going to be fine. The Cubs are a forgotten team. The Brewers are the best team in terms of what they've done standings-wise. They do everything well, and nobody gives them any credit. And yeah, I know you hate to say it. If you're a Met fan, sorry. But the Phillies, certainly, even without Wheeler, a lot of trouble. Sanchez, Suarez, if Nola starts to pitch the way he just did, look what a difference maker that is. And Duran on the back end, even though the Mets had a real chance to get in his head. And how big would that have been as you start to kind of prepare for maybe playing them in the playoffs? Off the, the 4 hit, they get first 5 times they face them, got hits. It is a wide open National League, anybody's game to an extent. But it's flip a coin with the Mets. They could go ahead and sweep any team in 3 games on the road, and they can go again. And I know they play bad on the road. I get it, but they're still capable. Or they can get swept. They could not make the playoffs, and the Giants could catch them with Drew Gilbert. And by the way, how about the energy he's given them? All of it is on the table. Everything is possible. The world is your oyster if you're a Met fan because you got no idea what this team is going to be. That it is what it is. They are who we already know they are. Some real talk in episode 321. I want the talk from you. Let me know if you're watching or listening, Twitter, X, Apple, Spotify. Get me on the YouTube comments. You agree? Disagree? I'm being too harsh? Where do you stand? We stand with you moving forward. I got an NFL reaction week from week 1 coming up in episode 322. More on the baseball side heading toward the postseason. All of that to come on the channel. Stick with us on the YouTube side. On the YouTube side, like, subscribe, get to it so that way you know and can be notified when we come to you.